How's it, everyone? And today I'm here with a commentary video. Excuse me. And if you guys would like, please open up a new tab, go on Twitter, surf the internet, do whatever you guys like to do, and just sit back and just listen to this video and enjoy it, because I don't know how long this video is going to be. By the time this video is up, you guys already know what the time is going to be, because you can see how long the video is. I don't at the time of recording this. I don't know if it's going to be 20 minutes, I don't know if it's going to be 50 minutes, I don't know if it's going to be 180 minutes, so I don't know how long it's going to be. So just open up a new tab, listen and enjoy, and just do whatever you guys would want. And if you're a fan of my content on my channel, if you like my videos and enjoy them, I please urge you, out of anything on this channel, please listen to this video, because this is probably the most invested and more, I don't want to say emotionally, but just a video that I really am excited to be recording right now, to say the least. So this is probably my most excited video the most excited I've been to make a video in quite some time, and this is a personal video to me as well. Because of who it's about, obviously. So if you guys are going to listen to anything or watch anything on my channel, please make sure to just, if you guys like, listen to this video, because it'd mean a lot to me, because of the heartfelt, I feel like the heartfelt, I don't know what the correct phrase to use for this would be, but this is, I don't know, it's a personal video to me, and I'm excited to be making this, and I've been spending too much time talking about that. But you guys can tell by title videos, this is called Thank You, Daniel Bryan. And in this video, what I'd like to do is pretty much tell you my story and my timeline from when I discovered Daniel Bryan, learned about him, became a fan, what I felt and thought throughout the years of his career that I've watched up until his retirement last week. So it's going to be pretty much about a 7-year, a little over 6, almost 7 year, yeah, a little over 6 more year story to be telling when I first discovered about him and how I became a fan of him and whatnot, and going forward. So yeah, that's why I think this may be a long video, because I'm pretty much going to be talking throughout the years, and I'm not going to go over every detail, like every month, like what he was doing, and every week how I felt. Like I just pretty much be going over the major things and what my mind was going through and how I felt, and and whatnot going through it. So without further ado, let's jump into it. Of course, when I first heard about Daniel Bryan, or at the time Bryan Danielson, was of course when he first signed with the WWE. At the time, I wasn't really too familiar with the independents. I knew of them because I would come across clips on YouTube, mainly of CZW stuff, because I remember my friend would show me like the hardcore stuff, and it would always be CZW footage, of course. So I knew a little bit of the indies, and at the time I was reading the sheets, but I wasn't really an avid reader. If anything, for some reason, when I'd go in the sheets, I would just read the spoilers for SmackDown. I don't know, for me at the time, that was a huge thing, to just read the spoilers, and I didn't really pay much too attention to like the headlines and whatnot, and I read about the news, about the pay-per-views and whatnot, but I wasn't the mark I am now, obviously, at the time, because I was only 13 at the time, so, it wasn't, what I know now. But I remember the exact date it was actually the day of SummerSlam 2009. I remember it specifically because I don't remember if it was before the pay-per-view or after. I don't remember, because like I said, I only usually check the sheets for spoilers at the time, so I'd only go on there on a Tuesday or Wednesday to check the spoilers for SmackDown. But I was on the sheets at that day because it was SummerSlam. I remember seeing a headline saying breaking. This is WrestlingInc.com, by the way. That was like my #1 source for years, Wrestling Inc. And I still go on there from time to time because it's a credible site. But I remember going on there the day of SummerSlam, and like I said, I don't remember if it was before the pay-per-view or after the pay-per-view. I remember reading the headline, "Breaking News: Bryan Danielson signs with WWE." And at the time, I didn't know what the hell, or who the hell he was. I remember just seeing like, okay, if this is breaking news, it has to be something big, right? And I remember reading the article, and I was just like, I don't understand what's the breaking news about this. Like, just some random guy is coming to WWE. Okay, good for him. Like, I didn't know anything about him. And I just didn't understand why it was breaking news, because, like I said, I didn't know anything about him at the time. I remember throughout the weeks, it was always something about him in the sheets as well. Update on Bryan Danielson signing with WWE. Details, whatever, just little things about him going to WWE throughout the weeks I'd always see on the sheets. And I got to the point where I'm just like, all right, who the hell is this guy? Because now I'm curious, because I'm constantly seeing his name, and obviously it's a big deal if he's always being brought up, and since him coming to WWE is such a big deal. I remember reading, I think maybe like a week or two later, about Nigel McGuinness signing with WWE as well, and that was a big deal at the time as well. Both of them going to WWE was such a huge big deal. Unfortunately, of course, Nigel McGuinness' deal fell through, and he never ended up going there. But I remember just specifically for Bryan Danielson, I was just really intrigued by how big of a deal this was. I remember looking up some of his stuff, and I remember the first match I watched on YouTube was him versus Kenta from Glory by Honor 5. And that was the reason why I came across that match, is because I just typed in Bryan Danielson match, and it was on Daily Motion, or Daily Motion on YouTube. It might have been on YouTube, but I think Daily Motion's more likely. And I remember that was the first match that popped up when I typed in Bryan Danielson match. And I watched it. I remember just being like, whoa, this guy is really good. And I kind of settled down because, of course, the rumblings kind of went down after about a month and a half. So towards the end of 2009, about October-ish, the buzz wasn't as hot. Until, of course, it picked up again in 2010 when he did the dark match on Raw against Chavo Guerrero on the January 4th Raw when Bret Hart came back. I remember reading that he did the dark match. I was like, oh, cool for him. I remember seeing pictures. And I was like, all right, that's cool. And I remember when NXT happened, when they announced it was the last ECW before the NXT premiere. I remember watching the last ECW. I remember seeing the announcement of The Miz being the pro of Daniel Bryan. And I'm seeing this, I'm like, wait a minute. And, I didn't really recognize him at first because I was used to the semi-long hair and the beard look that, and the bald look, I guess, too, from that match I watched against him and Kenta. But I was just more, the imprinted image of Bryan Danielson I had in my mind was the beard and the slightly long hair he had at the end of 2009 when he signed. So I saw the picture of The Miz being the pro of Daniel Bryan. I was like, wait a minute. This guy is, I'm like, hold on. Daniel Bryan, Bryan Danielson. I quickly put it together because I'm a smart man. I put two together. I'm like, wait a minute, that's Bryan Danielson. I'm like, oh shit, he's going to be on NXT next week. And, I figured out that, they made the name switch from Bryan Danielson to Daniel Bryan. So that was cool. I remember watching the next week, and I was anticipating it the entire week. I remember watching the Elimination Chamber pay-per-view that Sunday that week because they had the pay-per-view, then after the pay-per-views when NXT premiered, it was during the Miz's match. I almost called him the midget. The Miz's match against MVP during Miz's entrance, or during the match, they had backstage footage of Daniel Bryan in the suit just watching the match. I'm like, oh, there he is. And, that week came of NXT after that where he cut the promo. And the entire show, you can definitely tell he was a star because that show was centered around him. I remember watching that opening promo and just seeing like, okay, he's not that great on the mic, but he's really good. I remember just but at the time, like when he debuted on NXT, he looked like such a generic guy, like with the clean shave and the short cut hair and just he was wearing maroon tights and boots, but like there was nothing on them. It was just generic stuff. I'm like, this guy just doesn't really appeal to WWE, it seems like, because he just seems so bland. And then he put that match on with Chris Jericho. That was pretty good. I remember I always cringe to this day of that spot where Jericho catches him in the suicide dive and slams him with the announce table. I still cringe to this day watching that because that just, oh man, that really, really hurts. Or that must have hurt. But I remember going back to the promo thing, I remember just thinking like, alright, he's not that great in the promo. That's probably why they put him with Miz. And then I remember like reading on Twitter how like, because some other people are fairly new to him that I followed were kind of saying the same thing about him. I remember some people that knew of him and watched him throughout his career, were just saying how, oh, he can talk, just when he's a heel, he was great back in the day in 2006. So I was like, alright, you know what? So I watched some of his heel stuff, and I watched some of his heel promos in ROH, and they were just awesome. They were just awesome stuff, especially during the feud with CZW. He was great. And I remember throughout the weeks of NXT, I slowly, progressively started becoming more a fan of his. And then I remember the big thing was his losing streak, and I never understood that, why they kept making him lose. I understand the whole thing was, alright, he's in the independents coming to WWE, but like this is the WWE, this is the big times. Even though you're a big star in the independents, doesn't mean anything in WWE, and they're trying to showcase that at the time in the storyline. I understand that, but I never understood why he kept constantly losing. That kind of bothered me a little bit. But then what really made me a fan of his, and I remember when he got eliminated from NXT, I was disappointed by that. I was like, what? Like, I thought for sure, I'm pretty sure everyone else thought the same when NXT started. It was for sure going to be him winning. I think anyone, right when that show started, predicted Daniel Bryan was going to win that show. And so when he got eliminated by management, not even by the quote-unquote fans that are voting, It was a really big shock. 'Cause remember, I didn't watch that NXT episode live for some reason. I remember reading on WWE.com that he was eliminated. I was just like mind blown. Like, what? They eliminated him? And I was kind of worried. I'm like, well, since he's done, what is he gonna do now? Like, I thought this for sure thing would be his key to the roster. But then they kept him on NXT still. You know, that he did the whole program with Michael Cole. I remember I still love the segment to this day where it was Cole in the ring, or no, it was Bryan in the ring, and he was kind of promo on Cole, and that's where he started getting Cole's face. And then the next week, I think, was when Cole had the security with him, and that's when Bryan came out, and that's when Bryan actually attacked him. I remember those two promos and segments with Michael Cole was like almost solidified me as a fan of his, because he was so great in that segment. On the mic, he was great. Everything in those two segments, go back and watch them. They're still amazing segments to this day. Those are what made me like a fan of his, because I already liked his in-ring work. I was a fan of his in-ring work already, but those two promos is what made me just really like him. And I really liked his feud with Michael Cole in NXT. I thought that was great stuff. And then of course, I believe the week before the NXT or the Nexus debut, it was Raw. Because remember, Ashton Kutcher hosted that show, and they actually did the Miz versus Daniel Bryan, because they did a whole thing where Daniel Bryan was signed for a day contract, and he faced the Miz on Raw and beat the Miz. So I thought for sure that'd be his key to the roster right there. But then the next week is when the Nexus debuted, and that's when, you know, the whole incident happened where he ended up choking Justin Roberts and spitting in Cena's face before he kicked him. And I remember at the time I didn't really think anything of it. I just thought it was badass. Like the whole Nexus invasion. Excuse me again. Sorry if I keep burping or, you know, having little things like that happen. But I remember during that segment, because my brother was sitting on his phone with me when I was watching Raw, I remember throughout the entire segment, his eyes were glued to the TV as well. Like, he was not looking at his phone at all. His eyes were 100% glued on the television, watching the Nexus invasion. And it was such an awesome, awesome thing. And oh man, it sucks looking back to this day, like how they messed that up so much, because even though the Nexus went 6 months, oh man, that loss at SummerSlam really destroyed them, and Baron not winning the title. The whole Nexus thing, that's a whole different video in its own right there, if you want me to rant about that. But at the time, it was so awesome, and it was great watching that happen. And like I said, I didn't think anything too much about the incident. And then, of course, remember that Friday, because I was watching SmackDown. I think it was after the first 10 minutes, because it was going to commercial break, I remember, because that's when I was going on the computer, and that's when I go on the computer usually when I watch the shows, but during commercial breaks, I'd go on the computer or do whatever. I remember going on Wrestling Inc. during the commercial break for SmackDown at about 8:10ish, a little after 8:10ish. I remember reading the headline, "Breaking News: Bryan Danielson released from WWE," and I go, "What?" I remember being just blown, or not mind blown, because I was just like, I couldn't believe what I just read. I went on WWE.com, and there it is. It was on the front page, Daniel Bryan released from WWE, and I was just like, what happened? I was just so disappointed and so let down, and I was just like, I couldn't believe it at the time. I didn't know why. And then, of course, over that weekend, the details came out why. Of course, because he wasn't PG. It was too violent. Of course, that's where his old shtick came about, and his independent return was he was too violent for TV. But I just remember just being kind of heartbroken, because like I just really started getting invested into the guy, and he just gets taken away like that. And I felt really bad for him. I was like, man. Especially for something so stupid like that. Like, I know they gave him a warning at the SmackDown tapings, but still, though, like, I don't think that should have been fireable right there. But I just, oh man. And I remember at the time people were saying, oh, Daniel Bryan isn't Daniel Bryan's released, but Bryan Danielson isn't, which was the dumbest thing at the time, because if you guys clearly read that article, it said Daniel Bryan in freaking, what the hell are those things called? Not quotations, but God, my mind's going blank right now. It's 3 o'clock in the morning. My brain isn't fully functioning. But in the, not parentheses, but is it parentheses? No, I guess. Bryan Danielson. Someone's gonna call me an idiot for not knowing it, but it's whatever. Like I said, it's 3 o'clock right now in the morning when I'm filming this or recording this. So give me a break. But yeah, it said Daniel Bryan, then it said Bryan Danielson right after. So I'm like, why are you gonna sit here and say that he's gonna be Bryan Danielson or I hate to say Daniel Bryan's fight, but not Bryan Danielson, when it clearly says his real name. And going back to Bryan Danielson's situation, I forgot to mention this earlier in the NXT portion. I remember watching that promo NXT backstage when he mentioned Bryan Danielson. I remember saying like, "Oh, whoa, are they gonna like? Did they get so much like not backlash, but like people complain so much about him being Daniel Bryan? Are they finally gonna let him be Bryan Danielson instead?" Or whatnot. But I remember that promo where he said that, Daniel Bryan, you just see stuff in WWE, you don't see anything from independence. The independent stuff was Bryan Danielson. Bryan Danielson is, the real best wrestler in the world. And like I said at the time, I thought they were going to transfer him from Daniel Bryan to Bryan Danielson because I thought they figured that, like, you know what, Daniel Bryan isn't really that great for him. Let's go with Bryan Danielson. But that led to nothing. Yeah, fast forwarding back to the firing situation. Yeah, he got fired, and I was just like, that's not. I was just like heartbroken and just didn't know what to deal with it. I remember just thinking like, I really hope they bring him back soon. And I remember at the time, because I was really worried that he'd go to TNA, because that was the whole stint, where you couldn't compete for 90 days or you couldn't do something for 90 days, and of course he worked out where he could do independent stuff. So I was just really concerned more than anything that he was going to TNA at the time, to be honest. And then throughout the weeks, you had of course the incident at Fatal 4-Way that year, like a week or two after the incident happened, where the show ended with Daniel Bryan chants, which to me to this day, I don't even know how that happened. Like I know they're in Long Island, New York, where he's really known in that area, but like I don't know how like the fans at that exact moment just chanted Daniel Bryan as the show's going off the air. I thought that was a great moment, and I think that's what really kind of led to his comeback, is the fact that fans kept chanting his name at shows. And then remember, I really wanted to buy his Violent t-shirt on BryanDanielsonTV.com. That Violent t-shirt, but it was like $30 for that shirt, and I still bites me in the ass. I still am kind of pissed to this day that I didn't get that shirt. But it is what it is. And I remember come SummerSlam, I remember the Seventh Man, and I'm pretty sure people are predicting him. But I was one of those guys that thought for sure it'd be Triple H or something like that. And I remember SummerSlam comes, the main event's happening. And I remember during the video package for the match, I went to the bathroom. And I sat down right when the Nexus came out, and I was watching it. And I remember when the match happened, and, Cena and all of them came out for Team WWE, then The Miz came out and Cena stopped him. And he said he found someone else. I was like, oh my God, is this going to be what I think it is? And then when he said Daniel Bryan, I remember just being so happy and man, I felt like the gods have answered everyone's prayers about bringing him back. I was just so ecstatic, and I was so happy for him to be back. And I remember reading on Twitter after that, WWE.com leaked that he came back about 10 minutes before the match happened. And at the time, I'm saying to myself, I'm thankful I didn't go online, because like usually during the video package before the matches, I would go online just to see what's going on Twitter or whatever. But at that time, I just had to go to the bathroom, and I had a legitimate reaction because I was legitimately shocked. So, because if I would have read ahead of time and he came back, I would have been ecstatic, but I wouldn't have that genuine reaction when he came out. I'm like, oh yeah, let's go. But like when he came out, I was genuinely shocked, and I just was so happy, so excited to see him there. And I was really excited they brought him back, and I'm glad they realized what they did was a mistake, and they shouldn't have fired him. And I'm glad they brought him back when they did, because who knows what would have happened if they didn't bring him back there. But of course, after SummerSlam, so he started his feud with The Miz and whatnot, and which led to him winning United States Championship from The Miz. That was a great moment, and I was really excited for him to be champion there. I was really excited because I thought, I figured we're in for a great run. He's going to, defend the title against great opponents, and he did. He had great matches with The Miz, John Morrison, Ted DiBiase, William Regal. He had some matches with. Sheamus, of course, when he lost the U.S. title to Sheamus. But he had a pretty good U.S. title run for the most part, I thought. And after winning the U.S. title, he kind of just became a guy. He was still on the show, but he wasn't really marquee featured. He did the whole thing with the Bellas, where they were trying to fight over who would have sex with him first, because they all assumed he was a virgin still. And I remember that whole gimmick where the Divas loved him, so I remember that. But for the most part, he wasn't really anything that significant on the show. He was just, he was a guy, he was a champion, he would appear on the show, win a match, and do this segment with the Divas, and that was it. But it's not like he was just not doing anything. He was still featured, but like nothing that significant besides that Diva storyline with the Bellas he had. And then of course going to 2011, he lost the title to Sheamus. And then pretty much was just going downhill from there. I remember WrestleMania 27. I was really excited for him and Sheamus. And then I remember the day of the show reading that, this is before the pay-per-view started, of course, because they didn't do the pre-show stuff yet at the time. Before the pay-per-view, they were in the dark match, which was Sheamus and Bryan. And I remember just being so pissed off because I really wanted to see that match. I was really excited for it. And it's on the freaking dark match, and I was just really pissed off about that. But nothing you can do, right? And then, after that, Bryan goes to SmackDown and doesn't really do much for a while. He feuds with Cody Rhodes for a little bit. And then Money in the Bank comes around. And what was probably the most shocking, genuine moment, or genuinely shocking moment in quite some time with him winning Money in the Bank. I remember he was a guy I wanted to win. But I thought, and I'm pretty sure everyone thought for sure that Wade Barrett was a shoo-in to win. But when Bryan won, I remember just being so shocked but so happy at the same time, like marking out, jumping on my computer desk, just being so happy for the guy. And I remember just everyone was happy, but so negative for him because I remember everyone was just saying how he was for sure going to be the first guy to cash in and lose. I was just like, no, he's too good. I remember one thing as well about Daniel Bryan was everyone always said that he would be good, but he wouldn't really amount to anything because he's not what WWE wants. He's not going to be world champion. I was one of those guys that, honestly, I'm not saying this because it ended up happening, but like I was one of those guys that always, firmly believed that he'd be world champion. I always firmly believed he'd be a big star because, in my eyes, he was too good to be ignored. He was too good for him not to be a main event star. And I was one of those believers that believed he'd get to that level. And, he did. And I'm couldn't be more proud of him. But going back to that moment of Money in the Bank, I remember, like I said, everyone was just really excited and happy for the guy. But they were just coming to the conclusion that he'd be the first guy to cash in and lose. And that kind of pissed me off at the time because I was just like, come on, give it a chance. And then, of course, going forward, he feuded with Barrett till SummerSlam. That he went nowhere. He was rarely on TV. He was on Superstars more than he was on SmackDown, which is pretty dumb in my mind. But he just kind of floated, and he was kind of non-existent, kind of almost. And then, of course, came in the cash-in at TLC. And I remember the day of, or the day before, one of the two, I remember reading rumors that he might cash in at TLC. And I'm thinking, hell no, he's not cashing in at TLC because did the whole thing, of course, where Bryan announced he's going to cash in at WrestleMania 28 and whatnot. And I was like, there's no way he's going to cash in at TLC. TLC comes. Big Show beats Mark Henry. They do a post-match thing. Bryan comes running down, cashes in, and wins the world title. I remember just being like, what just happened? And I remember a few weeks ago, or I think it was like a month before this, they did the whole thing where Bryan cashed in on SmackDown on Mark Henry. But of course did the whole thing where Mark Henry wasn't cleared to compete. Therefore the cash-in, doesn't count. So they, revoked the title from him right there. But I remember when the cash-in happened at TLC, I was so genuinely excited for him to be world champion. And, he's so deserving, and I was just so proud of him, and I was really excited to see where he was going to go going forward, because especially with WrestleMania around the corner, at the time, to me, like, the summertime, you need to set who your world champions are going to be, or at the time, world champions, because now it's just world champion, but you need to figure out who your world champion is going to be, and you need to have credible world champions going to WrestleMania. So I figured that, he has to go to WrestleMania now, since he's the champion. I remember when Sheamus won the Royal Rumble, I was really excited that he won because now we were guaranteed to have that Sheamus-Bryan rematch at the time, I felt, and we did get that rematch at WrestleMania 28 that we had screwed out of the previous year. Little did I know it was going to end up being the way it did. And the whole 18-second skit, blah, blah, blah. 18-second skit, and that pissed me off. I remember a few weeks after he won the world title. I know I'm kind of all over the place, but, excuse it. I remember a few weeks after he won the world title, that's when he started doing the yes thing, and, I noticed the yes thing, and I started, tweeting yes, every time he came out on Raw or SmackDown or whatever. And then, started getting bigger and bigger. Of course, WrestleMania 28. I almost said 18 because of the 18 seconds. The whole thing happened. I remember I was, oh my God. Words can't describe how pissed off I was at WrestleMania 28. I was so excited. Bryan, Sheamus, opening show, world title match. I'm like, all right, we're guaranteed to have an awesome opener. You blink your eye and the match is over. And, oh my God, I knew it was coming. Like, when Bryan was kissing AJ, and I saw Sheamus standing there, especially when Bryan was walking backwards, I'm like, oh my God, he better not kick him and pin him right away. That's what happens. Sheamus pins him in 18 seconds, and I was pissed off. And I was, believe it or not, I was hoping for a rematch during the show. Because I remember when John Laurinaitis won the Team Teddy versus Team Johnny match, I was like, okay, Bryan, please ask Teddy or ask Johnny for a rematch right now. And that didn't happen, and like it would have happened anyways. I don't know why I thought that was a possibility, but I figured that, hey, that's probably the reason why I did it, because have a rematch towards later on in the show. Didn't happen. Oh well. But of course, after that is when, of course, the yes chant really broke out. Of course, the Raw after WrestleMania 28 is where the entire show was just yes chants. The entire show, just non-stop. And he wasn't even on the show, which is incredible to think about it. But that's what started getting hot. I remember WWE tried to phase it out because they would actually edit the yes chants out on SmackDown. Because I would see yes people chanting yes, but you wouldn't hear it because they edited it out. Which I thought was extremely dumb. I don't know why they tried to end it for it, but it was just extremely dumb for them, I thought, to try and kill the yes thing. And then, Daniel Bryan got a pretty good push out of it. He had the rematch with Sheamus. He had his feud with CM Punk, which at the time, I honestly do feel like he should have won the title against CM Punk. But, it's better off that he didn't, looking back at it. But yeah, he did good, and then of course did the whole thing with Team Hell No with Kane, which I thought was great and excellent. And I know at the time people hated it, but looking back at it, that Team Hell No, stuff was what glorified him into the main event, because right after that ended, that's what got him the main event, because the whole spiel was when they lost the tag team titles. Kane was saying how Bryan was a weak link, or people were suggesting he was a weak link, and Bryan was off to prove he wasn't a weak link. So by doing so, he beat the Shield by himself. He, that's what boosted him in the main event. He beat Randy Orton. So that's what boosted him in the main event. So I don't know why people hated the Team Hell No stuff. At the time, I can see why, because people were probably frustrated because, he was in a tag team, not doing things on his own. But looking back at it, it was for the absolute best that he was in that Team Hell No for, 8-9 months he was in the team. So that was great. I honestly did enjoy Team Hell No the entire time. I loved their stuff. But, yeah, the Summer 2013 comes, with, like I said, the rise of Bryan, breaking away from Kane after Team Hell No lost tag team titles. I have to prove a point. I remember at the time the sheets were reporting that, Bryan was going to face John Cena at Money in the Bank 2013 for the title main event. I remember being ecstatic for that. And then, of course, that didn't happen. They ended up doing the Mark Henry and John Cena match instead. And I was kind of let down, but at the same time I was kind of happy because I'm like, wait a minute. Since they're doing that, that leads for Cena and Bryan at SummerSlam. And if you guys do not know, in 2012, I wanted John Cena and Daniel Bryan for the title. I predicted John Cena would win Money in the Bank, and I predicted Daniel Bryan would win the title, and then Cena would cash in on Bryan at SummerSlam, leading to the match. However, flip-flop, I figured, okay, since 2013, Bryan was in Money in the Bank, Cena's defending the title, I figured, okay, Cena retains the title. And then Bryan wins Money in the Bank, and then announces cashing in at SummerSlam. There you go. Easy thing. Cena retains. Bryan doesn't want Money in the Bank. That's fine, because the next night on Raw, they did a little thing where Cena chose the SummerSlam opponent, and Cena chose Daniel Bryan. And of course, Bryan came out, and, they had the match at SummerSlam, which was a great match, and then with Bryan winning the title, which was an amazing moment, and I couldn't be any more proud of him there. That was just, I remember, it was such, I love the fact that they debuted the running knee there too, because that was such a sudden finish, because when that 3 count happened, I wasn't expecting it, because I didn't know that was a finish, because, that was, like I said, the first time Bryan debuted the running knee. So when Bryan hit it for the first time, I was like, okay, 1, 2, 3, what? I remember just being, I was so excited and so happy, because I knew he was winning. I didn't know it, but I predicted, and I was hoping he won the championship there, and he did, and I couldn't be more excited for him. I was so happy, and then of course, the whole thing with Orton cashing in at the end, which I thought was so predictable and so dumb. I wish they would have done the next night on Raw, to be perfectly honest, but it is what it is. And of course, he goes in the program with Randy Orton, which he wins the title Night of Champions, which was another genuine shocking moment because I don't think anyone expected him to beat Orton for the title. Beats Orton for the title, but of course it gets vacated the next night on Raw because they did the whole conspiracy thing with Scott Armstrong as referee, being in cahoots with Bryan, which I thought was stupid. And then him and Orton feud for the title for the next month, which ended up going back to Orton. So I thought the whole purpose of the whole Bryan beating Orton for the title and then the title being vacated for 2 months was just so stupid. I don't know why they did that. They should have got the title on Orton. They honestly should have, but it is what it is. And then after that, of course, that's where Bryan goes in the feud with the Wyatts. And then I remember being really pissed off when Daniel Bryan joined the Wyatts, and I didn't like that at all. I didn't like that he joined the Wyatts. I thought it was stupid. And because I don't know, I figured Bryan would be at the Wyatts at WrestleMania then. And, thankfully it only lasted for 2 weeks, but I remember just being really pissed off about it. But then that led to that amazing moment with him turning on the Wyatts, which is my second favorite Raw moment of all time of his, besides the yesing during the Ascension Championship ceremony on that Raw in Seattle in 2013, where everyone's just so chanting for him and completely ruined that segment. Not like ruined it like, oh man, they destroyed it, but they ruined it for WWE because WWE had this big planned segment and then the crowd just overtook it and made it their own. I thought that was just great. But Daniel Bryan joined the Wyatts and I just didn't like it. And of course, did the whole thing where Bryan turned on Bray, like I said, and then they had the match at the Royal Rumble. I don't agree with Bray beating him at the Royal Rumble. I thought that was stupid, but I understand why they're trying to build him for John Cena, another match I didn't agree with happening at WrestleMania 30. I didn't agree with Cena and Wyatt, and I remember that being a rumor match for months, and I just laughed at it. But when it finally happened, and the feud happened, I was being the one laughed at. But yeah, from there on, Bryan kind of just floats, going to the chamber. He's in that chamber match, gets screwed out of it. I remember for WrestleMania 30, before the CM Punk thing happened. I was one of those people, well, I don't know about people, but I was one of those people that I was like, okay, he has to face Triple H at WrestleMania. They've built it for so much, why would you not do it? And then, of course, the planned thing was for Triple H and Punk, and I remember being so pissed off and are you kidding me? You've been building towards Bryan Triple H, and you're going to go with Triple H and Punk? It made no sense to me because of what Punk kicked Triple H in the back of the head at the Slammies where Triple H and Bryan have been feuding, and Bryan's been getting screwed out of the title because of Triple H for months, and he wanted to go with that match. I remember just being so pissed off, and they wanted to do Bryan and Sheamus, and I was like, you had your opportunity twice to that match, and you fucked it up twice, so fuck you. And I remember just being so pissed off about it, and I remember everyone wanted Bryan to win the Rumble, and at the time when Batista came back, I thought that was so far-fetched, because I'm like, well, Triple H, I figured you're not going to do Bryan and Orton again at WrestleMania for the fourth time. Not the fourth time at WrestleMania, but the fourth time the past 6 or 7 pay-per-view events. You're going to do Bryan and Orton again, a match we've seen several times in the past couple months. I figured that was such a long shot. That's why I was so, for the Triple H Bryan match. And of course, when Punk left, I figured it's a shoo-in for Triple H and Bryan. There's no way you can get around it. There's no other match you can do for Triple H. It has to be Daniel Bryan. And of course, after the Chamber, they started building for Triple H and Bryan. I'm like, thank God they're actually going with it. And of course, did the whole Yes Movement segment with the Occupy Raw. And, they got the match with Triple H. And I remember just being so ecstatic about it. And then the icing on the cake, which I did not expect at all, was the throw-in where Bryan beats Triple H. He gets inserted in the main event to make it a triple threat. And that was just, like I said, the icing on the cake. I did not expect that. I was happy with the Triple H match, but once that happened, I was even more ecstatic, and I was so excited because I knew WrestleMania 30 was going to be all about Daniel Bryan. And it is. Yes-O-Mania, WrestleMania 30 will always be the Daniel Bryan WrestleMania. It'll always be Bryan Mania. That's what it will always be. And he put on such an incredible performance with Triple H in the triple threat match. He put on the best matches of the night. The 2 best matches were his matches. So I'm so glad he got his WrestleMania moment with him in main eventing WrestleMania. I'm so incredibly proud of him. and so incredibly happened. But of course, shortly after that is where he got injured with the neck injury. He had that really good match with Kane at Extreme Rules, but then he had to vacate the title after that due to injury. I remember at the time, a lot of people at the time thought he was done. I remember people were just really negative and sour, saying that Daniel Bryan, he's going to retire when he comes back. I remember that last Raw 2014, when he was going to be on Raw, and everyone was pretty much for sure thought he was going to retire. I'm like, there's no way he's retiring. He's being in the Royal Rumble. He has to be. And then once the announcement happened, I started having my doubts because he started crying, and you can tell, like, okay, I think he may be done. And then once the announcement came that he wasn't retiring, that he was being in the Royal Rumble, I remember being so ecstatic, and I thought for sure at the time, fuck Roman Reigns. There's no way Bryan isn't winning the Royal Rumble. Then the Royal Rumble comes around. Bryan comes in at number 10 and gets thrown out within 10 minutes. And I remember just being like, my heart felt like it dropped. Like, my heart felt like I just learned that, like, a family member passed away. Like, my heart sank when he got eliminated by Bray Wyatt. And I remember just being so let down, so disappointed. I didn't even want to watch the rest of the Royal Rumble, which I didn't really. I walked out of the room. The match went on. I caught the ending with Reigns winning, unfortunately, and that was pretty much it. I didn't really see much of the Royal Rumble after that, because I was just so let down and so just like heartbroken by that, and I just couldn't believe it. And of course, the next week on Raw, they did the whole thing where Bryan came out, and I remember in that segment when Bryan came out during the Authority Roman Reigns thing, I was like, oh my god, they're not going to do what I think they're going to do. And they set up Bryan and Reigns at the Fastlane for the number one contendership at WrestleMania, the face Brock Lesnar, and because that was a match, I firmly believe, and it's for the better it didn't happen looking back at it, but at the time, I firmly believe it should have been Brock Lesnar and Daniel Bryan at WrestleMania 31. That's a match that should have happened. It's a shame we'll never get it now, but I firmly believe that match should have happened. But like I said, looking back at it, it's for the best that it didn't. But I remember just thinking, like, this is their way of saying we fucked up, and we're gonna do what's right. And I really did believe they were gonna go with Bryan and Brock Lesnar. And then I figured, like, you know what, they just can't screw Roman Reigns like that. So I figured they'd do another triple threat with the three of them. Fastlane comes, and then my heart gets broken again when Roman Reigns pins Daniel Bryan. My heart's broken, and I'm really pissed off. And I didn't know what they're going to do with Daniel Bryan at WrestleMania 31. I figured, I don't know what they're going to do. He's going to be in some match no one's going to care about probably now, which is such a shame because he had such momentum coming back. And now he's pretty much in a predicament where he's going to do nothing. And then WrestleMania 31 comes around. He's in the ladder match, which, was better than nothing. And wins the Intercontinental title. Really excited for him to do that. And, of course, after that, the next week, he gets concussed by Sheamus. And then he works the next week with Cena in his last match. He tags with Cena against Tyson Kidd and Cesaro, which was his last match ever. Which is actually on the Best of Raw and SmackDown 2015, which I have not yet gotten. I'll probably get it after WrestleMania because I'm going to WrestleMania. I'm trying to save for that. So I'll probably get it sometime after when I can see what money I have left over and see what I can spend. So I'll probably pick that up like April-ish. So if you haven't got the DVD and you're a big Daniel Bryan fan, pick it up because that's his last match ever on that DVD set. But yeah, that happened. Him and Bad News Bear was supposed to happen at Extreme Rules, but it didn't happen because Bryan wasn't cleared. Bryan vacates the title because of injury, and then I remember a few weeks later after he vacated the title, that's when I learned that he was cleared by his own doctor. So I figured, all right, Bryan's definitely coming back sometime soon. I expected SummerSlam maybe. I figured they would give him about a couple months, just to, let him make sure he's good for a couple months. I thought for sure SummerSlam would come back. We go the rest of the entire year, without Daniel Bryan, and when Daniel Bryan would be on Raw or the kickoff pre-show with Miz TV. He would say every week that I will wrestle again, I will be back. And then the morning of February 8th, 2016, I wake up, I check Twitter, and I see Daniel Bryan's tweet about his retirement, and my heart just broke. And I couldn't believe it. I was just so heartbroken and, so sad, but when I listened to The Observer, when I learned that, he went to another doctor that pretty much told him, you're not as good as you think you are, and it was Bryan's decision, You know, it made me feel better inside. And I'm not really gonna talk about his retirement all that much, 'cause I made a video on it. So if you guys want to check it out about my thoughts on the retirement, go watch that. But I remember just being like, just really heartbroken, and he put out an amazing speech that night, and I thought it was a great way to send him off there. But you know, it still hurts knowing that Daniel Bryan's done, and it kind of sucks because like even though he wasn't really around the last 2 years, 2014, 2015 after WrestleMania, he was still always my favorite wrestler. So now it kind of sucks because like I have to fill that void. Who is my favorite wrestler on the roster now? So that kind of sucks, but it is what it is. And that's pretty much where his career went from when I started watching until when it ended. And it sucks to see him go. I had the fortunate privilege of seeing him wrestle live a handful of times. The first time I saw him wrestle live was at the Elimination Chamber. He did the dark match with Ted DiBiase, which was an awesome match. I then saw him wrestle was he on this? I'm trying to think. He was on the SmackDown I went to at the Elimination Chamber. I don't think he was. No, he was on Raw still. Okay, he wasn't on the show then. And then the SmackDown before SummerSlam 2011, I saw him wrestle Alberto Del Rio, which was the first ever Money in the Bank winner versus Money in the Bank winner match. And then I saw him wrestle. It was a Raw in 2012. It was a Raw where CM Punk faced Vince McMahon. It was him and Kane in a tag match against Del Rio and Ziggler, I believe, at the time. I think that was who they faced. So that was good. I saw him. I'm trying to think of all the shows I went to. I saw him wrestle Wade Barrett in the opening of Raw, and then I saw him on Miz TV before SummerSlam 2013. I saw him at SmackDown before the Royal Rumble. It was him and Kane. It was him, Kane, Del Rio versus Big Show and Team Rhodes Scholars in a elimination 6-man tag. That was really good. I didn't see him in 2014 because he was injured. And then, of course, WrestleMania 31, I saw him wrestle the ladder match, and I saw him wrestle Dolph Ziggler the very next night on Raw. That was a great match. And, of course, the picture you guys see, well, if you guys saw the picture, if you watched the video, if you're actually, physically watching, not listening to it, I met Daniel Bryan in WrestleMania 31 Access last year, VIP. And, he was my number one goal last year, WrestleMania Access, to get a VIP for him. And, I paid $290 to meet him, even though he was only $100. I didn't get him on the sale, so I had to, of course, get him off StubHub, which I'm very thankful for my sister for, because she was willing to pay 100 of it, the 290. Because I didn't have the money to pay the whole $290. So I paid the $190 and she paid the $100. So I was really thankful for her to do that. And I got Daniel Bryan to sign an amazing poster. I printed up. I got blown up of him with the World Championships after he won WrestleMania 30. I pretty much told him how I loved his Team Hell No stuff, and one of the segments he probably doesn't remember, and I don't think he did, because when I told him about the segment, he didn't really react to it. And there was kind of an awkward pause before he just started laughing randomly. And in the picture, you can see in the picture he's kind of looking at me, because when we went to take the picture, when I leaned in, I almost fell over, because I hit the table, and if you just nudge the table a little bit, the table jolts. So when I hit the table, I kind of almost fell. So I almost my feet, well, one of my feet went off lifted off the ground, because I almost fell over the table. It's whoa. And that's why in the picture he was mid laughing, because he's looking at me, because when we're shaking hands, I was falling back, and he looked at me oh, if something's gonna happen, and he laughed at it. So that's why in the picture he's kind of looking at me, and he's kind of in mid laugh because of that. So that's a great story for me to tell, I think, regarding the picture. But I'm just really thankful I was able to watch his entire WWE run. I know I didn't really watch a lot of his indie career beforehand, but that's what the great thing about DVDs is, that you can go buy the shows, the compilations, and watch them, and kind of not really relive them, but see what you kind of miss. And that's what I love doing. That's why I have I'm missing the newer one he has, the Final Countdown one, but I have all his ROH compilations. I have indie shows that he's on. I've been meaning to get some more compilations. I know there's a a 6-disc set on him on High Spots. I want to get that. So there's just a lot of stuff I still want to continue watching about him. And I couldn't be more happy and more proud of him. And he had such an amazing career. And think about it, you know, from 2010 to basically 2014, 15, because, you know, 2014 really wasn't there for. In 2015, you know, he wasn't really there for it besides the first couple months. So if you put them together, he really only had a career span of about 4 years total. But think about it, in those 4 years, he accomplished almost everything. Like I said, the only thing he never really accomplished was winning the Royal Rumble. Besides that, he won every championship. He main event WrestleMania. Like, he had a Hall of Fame worthy career in a span of 4 years. So how many guys do you know have that? You know, the last guy I could think of that really had that was Brock Lesnar from 2002 to 2004. 2 years he had a Hall of Fame career. And, you know, Daniel Bryan's probably the next guy to do so, to have a, you know, such a short career in WWE, but have a Hall of Fame worthy career at the same time. So you can't knock on the guy's career. He had an amazing run. It's such a shame it ended so soon, but, you know, let's just be thankful it happened, not that it ended. And you know, there's a lot of matches I wish we would have saw Daniel Bryan have in WWE that we didn't see, unfortunately. You know, I would love to see him and Brock Lesnar. That was always my match I wanted to see. You know, AJ Styles is not there, so, you know, that's a match I would love to see again, because I had the match before in the past in Ring of Honor and whatnot. The number one match I wanted to see, well, not number one, I'd probably say number two behind Brock Lesnar, is Shinsuke Nakamura, with Nakamura coming in now. And I know that was one of the reasons why Nakamura wanted to come to WWE, was to face Daniel Bryan. But now that Bryan's not there anymore, it's kind of like, oh, that sucks. But that's the match I really wanted to see as well, was those two face. Of course, Kevin Owens, Finn Balor when he's called up, Sami Zayn. Like, there's so many matches that left unhappening, at least in WWE, because those matches, you know, with Owens, Zayn, Hideo Itami, you know, guys like that, AJ Styles, like I said before, have had matches with him in the past, in Independence and, you know, Ring of Honor and whatnot. But, like, on WWE, different story. So it's such a shame we won't get some of those matches, but, you know, it is what it is. But yeah, I think that wraps up for the video. You know, just, I'm really, like I said, I'm very thankful I was able to watch this WWE run, and, you know, I was very happy to meet the guy, because he's not going to be an Access, at least a VIP this year. I don't think he's going to be Access at all, because if he was, I'm pretty sure he'd be a VIP. But I'm really grateful and thankful I met him when I did, especially considering, you know, at the time, I wouldn't have guessed that would have been one of his last matches I saw, you know, during WrestleMania weekend, you know, at WrestleMania and Raw. And I would have never guessed it would be his last WrestleMania, too, or at least last WrestleMania match. So I'm really glad about that. And I'm just really, I think he put on an amazing career, and I'm really excited to see where he goes going forward. You know, I think Hall of Fame next year is definitely calling his name. You know, I know some people might have mixed reactions about him going in next year. But I definitely do think it's calling his name. And you bet your ass I'll be there for that. There's no way I'm missing it if he's in the Hall of Fame next year. Or whenever he goes in the Hall of Fame. There's no way I'm not going to be there for that. You know, even if I'm not going to WrestleMania. I'll buy tickets just to go to that. You know, and I'll fly where the hell WrestleMania's going to be at. I'll fly there just to go to the Hall of Fame and fly back. But that'll do it for this video, guys. I hope you guys enjoyed the video. I was actually expecting this video to go a little bit longer, to be perfectly honest. I actually thought this would go like over an hour, but I'm kind of glad it's just under the hour mark. But I hope I covered everything in terms of, you know, his career in WWE and, you know, how I felt. I don't know. I hope you guys enjoyed the video. But yeah, just very thankful for Daniel Bryan, and, you know, I just want to pay one last video about how my thoughts and, you know, feelings were at the time of, you know, what things were happening, and I couldn't be more proud of him. And he had an amazing career. You can't deny that. And, you know, I'm just really, really happy. And that's all I can really say, is just I'm thankful and happy I was able to live and, you know, watch him grow in WWE. And, of course, next week I'll probably have another video regarding him. It's going to be a short one. It won't be a talkative video, but it will be a Daniel Bryan video topic, Daniel Bryan topic video, so stay tuned for that next week. Or, yeah, sometime next week, not sure when. But, actually, no, maybe it's going to be the week after that, sorry. Next, I'd say 2 weeks, probably expect another Daniel Bryan video, so stay tuned for that. But yeah, that'll do it for the video, guys. Hope you guys enjoyed listening. Leave your guys' if you guys want in the comments below, leave your guys' own stories of Daniel Bryan, or your thoughts about, you know, what happened, and make your guys' own video response about this if you guys would like. I'd love to hear your guys' stories about him as well if you guys would like to. But that'll do it for me, guys. Like I said, I hope you guys enjoyed the video one last time. And until next time, I'll see you guys later. Thank you guys for watching the video.